Jin BTS was caught crying after his Tokyo concert appearance, sparking concern and controversy. Was he pressured to perform under stress during his military service? The truth may break your heart. What really happened after the lights went out in Tokyo? Why did Jin BTS, who had just delivered one of the most heartfelt and shocking performances of his career, look visibly shaken and tearful as he left the venue? Was his reappearance on stage in Japan a passionate return, or a pressured obligation? The answers remain tangled in silence, but a single blurry video might have just unraveled it all. The clip is only 8 seconds long. Shot on a shaky phone from behind the security barricade at the artist exit of the Tokyo Dome, it shows Jin, dressed in his now iconic Constellation coat, walking briskly toward a black car. The crowd is silent, respectful, almost in awe. But then, right before he steps into the car, he stops, briefly, turns his back to the crowd. His hand goes to his face. His head drops. And then it happens that he wipes his eyes, not once, twice. Then, a staff member gently places a hand on his shoulder. Jin nods, bows, and gets into the car without looking back. The moment was fleeting, but it was enough that ARMY saw it. Coldplay fans saw it. The entire world saw it. Jin BTS was crying, and the internet, within minutes, erupted with a single terrifying question. Was he okay? Social media exploded with speculation. Was it exhaustion? Emotion? Or something darker? A wave of concern swept through global fandoms, not because crying is unusual, but because of the timing, the body language, and most disturbingly, the silence surrounding it. This was not part of the show. Jin had performed only one song, again, just as he had during Coldplay's Seoul concert. Just like in Korea, he vanished immediately after singing The Astronaut, leaving fans stunned, shattered, and begging for more. But in Tokyo, something was different. The audience had barely sat down. There were no encore calls, no farewell speech, no smile, just one hauntingly beautiful performance. And then, Jin alone, slipping out the back door with tears in his eyes. What happened? Japanese media quickly picked up on the viral clip. One entertainment correspondent from Nippon News claimed backstage sources described Jin as quiet, withdrawn, but highly respectful before the show. However, after the performance, he allegedly declined all interviews, waved off the crew, and requested immediate departure. The mystery only deepened when HYB refused to comment. No official statement has been made about Jin's Tokyo appearance, let alone his emotional exit. That silence is now deafening. Speculation turned into concern, and concern into fear. Some fans began theorizing that Jin may have been pressured to perform, not out of malice, but out of obligation. As a national cultural figure, currently serving his military duties, Jin's rare appearance at such a high-profile Japanese concert may have been tied to diplomatic or contractual obligations behind the scenes. Korean netizens began raising uncomfortable questions. Was this really his choice? Why does it feel like he's being pulled from one place to another without rest? He didn't cry after Coldplay. Why now? International fans echoed the same. He looked tired, not just physically, but emotionally drained. We waited for him, but not like this. Not if it hurts him. One performance should not cost him his peace. To make things even more mysterious, Chris Martin, who had joined Jin for a brief duet of Fix You during the Japan performance, later posted an Instagram story with no words, just a black screen and a single emoji, Milky Way, a galaxy. Many interpreted it as a silent show of support. Some believed it was a tribute. Others believed it was a message. But a message for what? That night, thousands of fans gathered virtually on Twitter Spaces, Discords, and Weverse to comfort each other. Some lit candles. Some played The Astronaut on loop. Others simply cried, feeling a strange sense of grief they couldn't fully explain, because this wasn't about missing an idol. This was about watching someone you love walk off a stage in tears and not knowing if he's okay. That's what haunts ARMY. Not the silence, but the absence of reassurance. Jin hasn't posted anything since. No letters. No livestreams. Not even a repost of his Tokyo performance. Just complete disappearance. And that, to many fans, is more terrifying than anything else. One Japanese fan, who attended the concert and saw the moment firsthand, posted this. I've seen performers cry from joy, but this was different. He looked like someone who had something he couldn't say out loud. A K-pop journalist, speaking anonymously, stated, "There's always pressure on enlisted idols when it comes to appearances, especially if they involve cross-national performances." Jin may have accepted the opportunity, but that doesn't mean it didn't come with emotional weight. and that emotional weight it showed. The man who once said, "Please don't worry about me too much. I'm strong," seemed, in that one silent moment outside the Tokyo Dome, anything but. And now, the world waits. Not for another stage, not for another surprise, but for a sign that Jin BTS is truly okay. Until then, fans have started a global project called #DearJin, where they post daily letters, artworks, and songs dedicated to him. Their hope? That somewhere, somehow, he'll see it. That he'll know he's not alone. Because whether he was forced to perform, or whether the pressure simply became too much, one thing is now heartbreakingly clear. The tears Jin tried to hide said more than any song ever could. And for millions of people around the world, those tears, brief, blurry, and wordless, have become a memory they'll never be able to unsee. As the hours turned into days, the silence surrounding Jin's emotional breakdown outside Tokyo Dome only became louder. HYB remained tight-lipped. Coldplay offered no follow-up. The media seemed unsure whether to treat it as a personal moment or the beginning of something much bigger. But ARMY knew. They knew that Jin's tearful exit wasn't just exhaustion. It wasn't just nerves. It wasn't even stage fright. It was grief. Grief of being pulled away too soon. Grief of loving a stage he couldn't stay on. Grief of knowing he could light up the world for 3 minutes, only to disappear again for months in isolation. And now, the fandom is spiraling. How much more does he have to give before we let him rest? What kind of system makes an artist cry after a single performance? Why does it feel like he came to say goodbye, but couldn't even speak? Theories are everywhere. Some believe that Jin was not ready to face fans after so long, and that standing under stadium lights again, surrounded by screaming voices and reminders of his pre-military life, was simply too overwhelming. Others point fingers at military restrictions, claiming Jin was under extreme pressure to follow strict curfews and security rules. One unverified source claimed he had less than 90 minutes total clearance to enter and leave the venue, and fan signs. No backstage, no time to decompress, just walk in, sing, walk out, and then vanish. What makes this moment even more heartbreaking is what it wasn't. It wasn't a farewell tour. It wasn't a BTS comeback. It wasn't even a full stage SET. It was one man, one mic, one spotlight, and then a car door shutting on the most emotionally vulnerable moment of his career. Fans are now comparing it to his enlistment farewell, when Jin smiled and told ARMY, "Don't cry when I'm gone." But this time, he was the one crying, and the world watched him walk away anyway. Why? That's the question that haunts the story. Why did no one stop him? Why didn't anyone let him speak? Why didn't anyone hold him in the way he's held millions for years? And perhaps the scariest part, this may have been intentional. A growing theory among fans is that this performance was Jin's silent letter. Not a comeback, not a teaser, but a confession that he's hurting, that he's tired, that the burden of being a global icon, especially during mandatory service, is eating away at the joy that once filled every note of his voice. He didn't cry because he failed. He cried because he gave everything, and it still wasn't enough. And now fans are turning their grief into action. Thousands have flooded HYB's communication channels, asking for a response, acknowledgement, anything. They aren't demanding more content. They're demanding care, and until Jin speaks again, fans are vowing to fill the silence with love. A fan project titled Project Starlight has launched, where armies from over 40 countries are sending in handwritten notes, folded origami stars, and poems, all to be compiled into a physical time capsule that will be delivered to HYB as a gift for Jin. One note, already going viral, reads, "You taught us to smile through pain. Now it's your turn to rest. We'll wait, not for a concert, not for a comeback, but for your peace." Another says, "Even if you never return to the stage, you've already given us more than enough." But despite the love, the fear remains, because Jin hasn't been seen since airport photos. No fan cams, no voice notes, no selfies, just nothing. And in an age where idols are everywhere, live streaming from dorms, updating fans in real time, Jin's complete disappearance feels like a scream hidden in silence. Now, the narrative is no longer about his Tokyo performance. It's about what it cost him. Was he forced to perform? Was he emotionally ready? Or was he, like so many before him, sacrificed quietly by a system that doesn't know when to stop pushing? What happens next? No one knows.